Alright, normally I don't make two videos together, especially this close time-wise. I had just now seen this, and this is one of those things that you come across, and it's just so horrible, so mind-numbing, so absolutely painful, you have to talk about it in the moment. And this is one of those. What this is a review of a game called Senran Kagura 2. The review is from Vice, and it is one of the worst things I have ever seen in my life. I'm going to not only have a link to the archive of it down in the description, because I'm pretty sure any sane person would delete this. I'm also going to be reading this verbatim, because this is one of those things that you should not see for yourself, because it's just that bad. If you want to, it's there. Go ahead. Take a look. I'm going to save you a whole lot of time and a whole lot of headache, because this is bad. Is there anything more to Senran Kagura 2 than big bouncing cartoon breasts? We're already off to a great start, aren't we, folks? By the way, the guy who did this, Mike Diver, he's the video games editor for Vice. I double-checked to make absolutely sure this wasn't a joke, or this wasn't some guy who is relatively new or has just like a one-off opinion piece thing. No, this guy has been around for a while. He's been reviewing games since at least 2012, if not before that. So this guy has been around and should know better than to do this kind of bullshit. Here we go. While the rest of the world, judging by my Twitter feed, has been putting in the hours on Metal Gear Solid 5, which is pretty bloody great for the most part, I've been busying myself with a few other interactive distractions. I'm easing myself back into the beautiful wastes of Mad Max, having already played and enjoyed a decent slice of it earlier this year, and I'm having a lot of fun with Super Mario Maker, the level creation tool for Nintendo's Wii U that so easily stirs the latent game designer in all of us. I see nothing wrong here, except you're talking about a whole lot of other games as opposed to this game. And then there's Senran Kagura 2, Deep Crimson, which I downloaded onto my 3DS a couple weeks ago. I played maybe an hour of Tamsoft's latest side-on 2.5D brawler, and if that name's familiar, it's probably because the same Japanese studio made the Toshinden games in the 1990s before moving on to, let's say, rather more exploitive fare. I don't know what that links to. I don't want to know what that links to. The statement alone, exploitive fare, seems rather loaded in and of itself. I've picked at it across 5 or 6 brief sessions now, always moving proceedings onwards to the next scenario and fresh waves of enemies. Yet 60 minutes is enough to know what it's all about. You've only played the game for an hour. An hour. This isn't like you've completed most of the game. You've only played it for a single hour. Breasts, boobs, tits, baps, knuckers, bosoms, norks, melons. Insert your own local colloquial variation here. And here we begin. Seriously, that's it. Breasts. This is a game about breasts. Oh sure, there's a fighting game too, and a storyline I cannot even begin to fathom on account of it directly following the events of its preceding game, Senran Kagura Burst, which I'd not even heard of prior to picking this up. You're complaining about not knowing a storyline for a game that you've never heard the original version to, so the game's story is bad because you didn't you admit to not playing the original. By the way, a little sidebar thing. There's an extremely long context-setting intro, but I fell asleep halfway through it. So, let's break this down. Let me see if I got this straight. You admit to not being able to follow the story, ergo thinking the story is bad, because it's the sequel to a game you'd never heard of, and then when the game actually does exactly what you want and tries to give you a recap of the last game, you admit to falling asleep during it. Journalism, ladies and gentlemen. The combat is a long way from comprehensive. Briefly entertaining combos achievable. At one point I racked up 600 straight hits somehow, but the inputs as basic as a light and heavy attacks plus the occasional special move. The winning tactic in any boss confrontation is generally to run around and jump a lot, avoiding attacks, and then when a window in their defense opens, mash the Y and X buttons on your 3DS as quickly as possible. But mainly, boobs. Here we go again. Can't even get through a full paragraph or just talking about mechanics without going back to this. Big bouncing cartoon boobs, grotesquely proportioned, hanging off the front of a range of saucer-eyed and schoolgirl-aged anime characters who are all training to be good or evil ninjas because video games. You have absolutely no right to critique the story. You admitted you don't know it, and you fell asleep during the introduction to it, and you're critiquing the story because fuck. But really, boobs. It's got boobs, ergo I'm insulted. Because boobs. Each level, at least each of the ones I have seen so far, and I'm unlikely to see any more, comprises a Dynasty Warriors-like light melee section where the player-controlled character, each of whom has their own weapons, from swords to bobber boots to guns to umbrellas, clear out of waves of identikit enemies before facing off against the boss. As these drone types are struck, their clothes fall off. And guess what? They're almost entirely girls early on. Teenage girls, schoolgirls, just like your controllable character. And that stripping mechanic works both ways. While you'll start each stage relatively well covered, barring the odd underwear revealing rather too short skirt, but then with all the leaping about the place, I suppose I can understand the practical side of such attire. You understand the clothing choice based on what they're doing, but are still saying it's bad because boobs. What? Take damage enough and your own garments will begin to fall apart. I think this may be the first time I've ever heard of this. I can't recall another a fighting game slash brawler game, very action heavy, focused on fighting, where if you took damage, you would lose segments of your clothing. This is a completely first thing that I've never heard of ever from any game ever. Where was I? You can easily finish a stage with your shinobi wearing nothing more than what is basically a barely keeping everything in place bikini. Whether you win or lose against the boss, the screen freezes on your character come the battle's end for you to move the 3DS around and go up at their, well, you know, oh fuck it. The game invites you to ogle their assets. It positively demands it. Demands it. The game demands that you look and ogle at the girls on the screen. There's a word that keeps coming to mind as I speak. Projection. Let's continue, shall we? It gets worse. Oh joy. Outside of the core mission structure, a hub house where all the playable girls can be found allows you to check your stats, alter your settings and so forth, and also dress the characters up in outfits you've unlocked by completing stages and then posing at them using a number of presets which range from cheery V signs to them squatting or actually straddling the invisible you. Quite what the point of this is, I don't know. If altering costumes and striking certain poses gives the girls advantageous stat boosts to use in upcoming challenges, I missed that particular memo. To me, it simply seems to be a shameless outright option to leer exaggerated, entirely fantastical female forms at girls drawn like hypersexualized young adults, underage and oversized. First of all, granted, I don't know either what this does. For all I know, it really is a segment that just basically it's a photo thing that allows you to take pictures or whatever. For all I know, that's what it could be. The problem here is this author admits to not knowing either because they've only played the game for an hour. So they're assuming automatic worst possibility from something that they have not completed, not finished, nothing. They've just played a little bit, so they've automatically assumed what it is. Oh, and of course, boobs. You can't go a paragraph without being upset with boobs for whatever reason. This guy's, and he can't turn his mind off of tits. Once again, projection. That a game like this can come out in 2015 is ridiculous. I'm going to repeat that line. That a game like this can come out in 2015 is ridiculous. But don't worry, folks. We aren't coming for your games. We just want new, different games alongside the old favorite ones. It's brazenly, unapologetically sexist. Here we go! And it's all as arousing as a dinner date with Des O'Connor, where Des is dressed up like Prince Harry that time he went to that party in that terrifically inappropriate gear, linked to something, I'm not going to click it, and will only speak to you in broken Brummie, which we all know is the least sexy accent in the whole of the British Isles. The thin waist and Titanic wimwams might represent wank fantasy material for teenage boys who, for some reason, can't bring themselves to find actual pornography on the internet, but to a grown adult, a married man, a father of two, this is just the dullest, most tired tripe masquerading as titillation. I get more excited making toast. I don't think that that's the purpose of the game, quite honestly. I'm going to make an assumption that since there is no pornography in the game, especially because it came out for the 3DS, Nintendo's hardware, they're kind of touchy about that kind of stuff, that's not the point of the game. But apparently this guy, he sees tits, and his mind automatically goes to the gutter. And yet this is a game, a series which has spawned its own manga and anime offshoots, with so many fans. Sales of the game to date have passed the 1 million mark, and coverage elsewhere has emphasized the gameplay improvements made to Deep Crimson compared to its predecessors. And, you know, I'm absolutely fine with people playing this game and enjoying it. Be fair, most likely in the privacy of their own homes, despite the portability of the platform. And claiming that they're primarily in it for everything, but what's inside all those fancy blouses. You can hear the snark in his voice when he's writing this. You can hear it. Sure, he says, oh, I'm absolutely fine with it. You probably won't play it outside because, you know, tits and you look like a pervert, but, you know, I'm perfectly A-okay with you doing it. Of course, they're fucking lying, as this game is a game as this is a game about breasts. Once again, here we go. Only about breasts. Fun bags, jugs, etc. This guy can't get off tits. Even a big boss dragon thing in it has breasts. It's not like publisher Marvelous has shied away from that fact either, releasing a special edition of the game with an Opie mouse mat with 3D boobs, and naming the next level down set the Happy Boobs edition. Milk bombs, muffins, cha-chas, it's all about the fun dumplings. To you. You're the one focusing on the tits here. You said it yourself that the fans of the series focus on the story and the gameplay. And you say that they're lying because you're focusing on the breasts. Do you see where this is going? And nothing else. So stop kidding yourself. You're not playing Deep Crimson for its multi-layered gameplay, for its sole playable male, its pair battles, or its tangled tale of, sorry, again, no idea, but I get that the baddies aren't all that bad in the big scheme of things. You're playing, and this is the absolute money quote right here. I'm going to emphasize this part. I'm going to post a screen cap specifically of this part, because this is the part that set me off the edge. This is what did it right here. Because I have seen reviews like this before, and I was getting annoyed with it that he kept projecting his own insecurity about tits onto everyone else. But this is the part that made me pissed. You're playing it because misshapen cartoon girls with weirdly massive eyes, piss poorly made outfits, and ginormous gazongas do it for you. And that's okay, I suppose. Better that you feel up fictional girls on your 3DS screen rather than grope a stranger on the bus. One more time! One more time to make sure you got that. Better that you feel up fictional girls on your 3DS screen than grope a stranger on the bus. This guy, in one sentence, basically accused anyone who likes this series of being a molester. I'll get back to this in a minute. But I'm not playing any more of it. I don't have any more time to waste on stuff like this when so many genuinely excellent games are just out or imminent. So I'll be belatedly starting Metal Gear Solid 5 instead, because that definitely doesn't have any problems regarding its representation of female characters. Absolutely not. I'm going, again, another link, I'm going to assume it's a reference to Quiet, and he is upset about that too, because again, tits. Senran Kagura 2 Deep Crimson is out now, exclusive to the 3DS. You know, I'm reminded of that one Dragon's Crown review where either it was the reviewer or an op-ed piece, I can't remember which, they ended up saying that anyone who enjoyed Dragon's Crown was a pedo. I remember that. I remember that being absolutely disgusting. That you, as a member of the gaming media, could have that opinion. That you could openly say that opinion. That you would insult an entire fan base because they liked the game. I remember a review of Leisure Suit Larry. I believe it was the remake, where they, for the entire review, openly insulted the people who liked this game and paid for the Kickstarter and would buy the game. They openly said that they were horrible people for it. And that was absolutely astounding to me that they could do that. This is Business 101 level stuff here, folks. You do not project your own inadequacies, your own displeasures, your own hatred for something onto the audience. That is the quickest way to fuck up a business. Not only that, but this is absolutely insulting to say that the people who enjoy this are horrible people because they enjoy this and you don't like it. You don't like it because, in this reviewer's case, tits. Tits have upset him. They have wounded his soul. They have, dare I say it, triggered him. And now, people, in his mind, the people that enjoy this game are basically molesters. The fact that this is now the third time in as many years that I have seen a review like this is absolutely insulting on every mental level I have. How can this be acceptable? How could any editor-in-chief look at this and not go, no, you can't do that? How is it that we still live in an era where it is seen as perfectly fine to insult your audience? This is just mind-boggling that this is even a thing. It's absolutely insulting. Me, I'm not offended directly by this. I am insulted that this stuff is allowed, that you can be an author, a game reviewer, and insult the audience for liking a game. Because the reviewer doesn't like it. That makes it immoral for you to like it. That is fucking disgusting. It's puritanical. There is no other word for it. Because you can't stand tits, the audience are horrible people. I'm just rambling now, because this is one of those things that I see that just sends me into a tirade. And I'm just going to leave it here. Because at this point, you've seen everything you need to. You've heard everything from me you need to. This stuff can't be allowed. It really cannot. The idea of insulting an audience for liking something and accusing them of being horrible people for liking something cannot be something that is, in any sane world, allowed. It really can't. I will defend his right to say it. Don't get me wrong. I completely defend his right to be able to say it. I question the sanity of saying it, and the fact that he is so blatantly insulting, accusing even, such a wide fan base for something he doesn't like, screams of just someone who is projecting so hard. I have no words for it. Spin Math Machine, venting from yet another reviewer gone mad. Peace out.